The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled, every eye fixed on the woman sitting confidently at the defense table. She leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed, wearing a smirk that screamed arrogance. To her, this wasn't a courtroom. It was a stage. From the very beginning, her attitude radiated through the room. When the bailiff called the session to order, she rolled her eyes. When the charges were read out loud, she whispered under her breath, shaking her head as if the entire process was beneath her. Some people in the audience exchanged uncomfortable glances. Others leaned forward, eager to see what would unfold. But the one person who noticed every single detail was the judge. He was a man who had spent decades on the bench. He had seen fear, anger, and even tears inside these walls. But smugness, disrespect, that was something he never tolerated. And this woman was pushing the limits. The judge's gavel came down sharply. "Miss," he said, his voice firm, "you will treat this courtroom with the respect it deserves. Do you understand?" The woman smirked wider. "Of course, Your Honor," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The audience gasped softly. The judge narrowed his eyes but chose to let her continue, giving her rope she didn't realize she was wrapping around her own neck. As the prosecutor began questioning, her arrogance only grew. She interrupted, laughed quietly at the evidence, and even muttered, "This is ridiculous," loud enough for the judge to hear. But instead of stopping her immediately, the judge sat silently, listening, observing. He let the scene unfold because he knew sometimes the best way to teach a lesson is to let someone expose themselves completely. Finally, after several minutes of her dismissive behavior, the judge leaned forward. His voice was calm but powerful. So powerful that the entire courtroom went silent. "You seem to think this is a joke. You seem to believe your attitude makes you untouchable. But let me assure you, this court is not a place for arrogance. This court is where truth is revealed, where justice is decided, and where respect is demanded." Her smile flickered. For the first time, she shifted in her seat. But the judge wasn't done. "Every smirk, every sarcastic word you've spoken here today only proves one thing, that you do not understand the seriousness of your situation. So allow me to remind you, reality doesn't bend to your arrogance. And today, reality has caught up to you." The room was utterly still. The once confident defendant now looked shaken, her smugness dissolving under the weight of the judge's words. Then came the decision. With deliberate authority, the judge laid out the consequences, serious, undeniable, and immediate. Each sentence landed heavier than the last. The audience watched in stunned silence as the woman's expression crumbled. Gone was the cocky smile. Gone was the defiance. What remained was a humbled individual, staring at the floor, finally realizing she was not above the law. The judge raised his gavel one last time. "Let this be a lesson, not just to you, but to anyone who enters this courtroom. Respect is not optional. The law is not a game. And justice will always have the final word." The gavel struck. Bang! The sound echoed through the courtroom like thunder. The audience exhaled, whispers filling the air once again. Some shook their heads, others nodded in agreement. And the defendant? She sat silently, her smugness shattered, facing the reality she thought she could escape. That day, everyone walked out of the courtroom with one truth burned into their memory. Arrogance may walk in proudly, but justice will always walk out stronger.